Hello, everyone. We are here for the next session focused on preparing for research internships. We'll be starting in 5 minutes. Please note that this is an interactive session and you all can ask questions at the end of the session. Thank you. So our first speaker is Sumiran Kasturi. She is an MSc Biology and MSc Chemistry student. She is currently a MITACS Globalink research intern. I'd also request the speakers to switch on their cameras if possible. You're not audible. You're not audible.
Hi, I'm back. So sorry about that. Am I audible now? Okay, thank God. Okay, hi. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Sumiran, and I just finished my third year in a dual degree doing MSc Biology plus Chemistry. Yeah, before you have any questions, I know it's a little unconventional, but just to clarify, it's basically a normal dual degree like MSc plus BE. Like it has the same course structure, same duration, 5 years. But instead of my second degree being a BE degree, it's just another MSc degree. So it's more or less the same, but just the degree type is different. Also, I won't be able to present my slides on this device, so if you guys could, Niharika, if any of you guys could present slides, that would be great. Okay, the slides are here. Could you guys shift to, I think mine's is starting at the second part. Yeah, uh, you can go to the next slide. So yeah, about me, I said I was a dual MSc student, and I chose this because I was always inclined to doing pure science research, and I was interested in biology, so I thought chemistry complemented that field really well. And there are a lot of intersections and opportunities in like the intersection of biology and chemistry. And since I knew I always wanted to do this, I started applying for research internships during my second year itself. And after my second year summer, I was a bit conflicted on what to do because I didn't think practice school one would help me a lot, especially because for us, it was online and there weren't a lot of stations that were related to what I wanted to do. So I applied for other research internships in like ICERS and IIT and an institute in Bangalore called JNCSR, which is an Advanced Scientific Research Institute. And so I got selected for that pretty late on, actually. So I dropped out of my PS1. So that actually was my first lab experience because during COVID, all our labs were online, including biolab and all the labs that come after that in the second year. So that was my first hands-on lab experience. And through that, actually, I realized that, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. What happens with a lot of people is that they try and they realize, okay, no, this is not right for me. So that's the thing with research. Like, you never really know if you're going to like it unless you really, really get to do it. So this was my, eureka point or whatever. So yeah, I finished this internship and I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. So in my third year also, I tried applying for internships and I applied for the MITACS program, which is in Canada. So I'm currently interning at the University of Saskatchewan here in Canada, which is a 12-week program. You can go to the next slide. So a lot of people have this question like, what exactly is research? Is research right for me? And like, will I get a job after that? So research is just, I can't explain it in like one sentence because research is a whole, umbrella. So research is basically you liking something, a field, a topic, a subject so much that you want to delve into it and learn more. So the thing about research is that you're figuring out stuff yourself. There's not there's very little that you know, and from that you are finding out more things. So if you really want to delve into something, figure out things, discover things, go into the depths of any subject, that's research. And what kind of jobs will you get? So people in research usually take two paths. One, they'll end up in academia. So academia is you do a PhD, you do a postdoc, and you study in, like, you act as a professor in some kind of university. That's academia. So in academia, you're working in a university. Either you're working in a university as a professor, or as a research assistant or something like that, a lab technician. Another branch is corporate research. So this is you basically being a researcher in a company. So this is slightly different because over here you're under the company's, directions and bounds as to what exactly your role is. While in academia, you have full freedom as to what you want to research, how you want to research it, and it's basically your own project that you're doing. However, in corporate research, they hire you based on what skills you have, what you've learned, what you've done your PhD in, and you're basically doing research for what the company wants you to do. So those are the two major directions one person can go in. So how do you start? Um, yeah, so this can be a little tricky because everyone's journey here is different. Harini is going to go after me, and her journey is going to be completely different from mine. So, but the best way to start is to build a connection with your professors because your professors are also in academia. So they've been through this and they know what it's like. So this could be like, asking doubts in class, telling them that you're interested in what they're doing, just being active and letting the professors know that you are there, you're in class, you're present, and you're interested in their subject, and this is what you want to do. So that's your first step. Second is SOPs. You guys might have heard of SOPs, DOPs, LOPs. So yeah, a lot of people do this, instead of a course to just get an A grade and stuff like that. That's all fine. But if you're really interested in research, this is something that you should take seriously because it's your first step. And this is what's going to really matter on your CV or resume when you apply to other places. So yeah, um, you go to a professor whose subject you're interested in. You just approach them saying, "Hey, I'm interested in your subject. I'd like to, do a SOP, like a basically a small project under this." And yeah, so you do that. And one thing over here is like you really, really need to follow up with them and you need to take initiative yourself because professors are busy. They have a lot of students, they have a lot of people who are doing projects under them. So they're not gonna, go after you. They're not gonna ask you, hey, what did you do with this? What is this week's update? So you really need to take initiative and like treat it as your own project because in most of the cases the professor is just going to be too busy to even pay attention to you and you're going to not do anything the entire semester. And then at the end, you're going to be like, oh, will you give me an A grade? I haven't really done anything. So forget about the grade for once and actually take interest in this, actually take initiative in this. And honestly, professors are really, really happy to see this because not a lot of people care. They just want to do this for the grade. So the fact that you're taking initiative and like doing something, um, they'll be very happy and you'll usually get an A. So yeah. And yeah, so the next step is applying for internships, projects, and you can go to the next slide. So now there are two major ways to apply for any internship. One is cold emailing, which is basically you read up on a professor from any university that you like their research, and you want to do something along those lines. So you read them up and you just email them saying, hey, I'm so and so, this is my background. Um, I'd really like to, work in your lab or like take some training under you because I feel like my interests match with your interests. And I would really like this opportunity because I want to do research in the future. And I think this will really help me learn a lot. So, yeah, that's basically what cold emailing is. And for that, you need to go onto their page. You need to read up on their publications and basically write them a personalized email. So, when you're going to be doing this, you're probably going to be emailing a lot of professors actually. So it won't work if you write a standard template email and email it to every single professor. They're not going to like that. In most of the cases, they're not going to open it. They're not going to respond even if they do open it. So you need to write a personalized email, including stuff from their publications, how their research interest matches your skills and background. You're going to have to attach your CV also. And so what happens when you cold email is a lot of the times the professors won't read or respond to it. And that's okay. That's very normal. This is something that's you have to try like a lot of emailing. Like it could vary. Like I know a friend of mine who got a response and within the first 5 emails, and I know another friend who emailed 40 professors and got one response. So this is how it is. It is a little, tedious and like it can be really heartbreaking and you might want to give up, but the best you can do is try. So just email. Make sure your email is not too long. It needs to be completely to the point. Like it needs to include your background, how their interests match yours, how it's going to help them, how it's going to help you. And yeah, that's basically it. Um, and don't be disheartened if they don't respond on the first try. In most of the cases, like in 99% of the cases, you have to follow up with the emails after like, starting with the week, a couple of days. But again, not too often. Like don't go emailing them every 2 days saying, hey, you haven't responded, because that's just gonna annoy them. And it'll go straight to their spam folder otherwise. So yeah, so you need to start with an email and then like after a week, if they don't respond, then follow it up saying, hey, I sent you an email, attach your CV again, just mention in brief. Um, the shorter and the more content it has, the more likely they're going to read it, respond to it. And sometimes what happens is they really do like your thing and it's not your fault, but they just don't have open positions in their labs. So that's not bad news because you can still tell them that okay, that's cool, but maybe next time if you have a free position you could keep me in mind. And in a lot of times they do, because honestly, speaking from a professor's point of view, they don't really care who they choose that much. They just want they want to see initiatives. So if you've like applied before, if you've emailed before, next time they will definitely have you in preference as compared to someone who just emailed. So, just you want to keep yourself in their mind. And this is a good way to do it, even if you don't get, an internship while doing this. So yeah, this can be unsuccessful. It hasn't worked a lot, but like it's a good way to try and it's a good way to start. And it's a good way to, just build contacts even if you don't get an internship. Uh, yeah, you can go on to the next slide. So the next way is slightly more easier way. It's applying through formal programs that a lot of universities have. So various universities in India and also abroad host these research internships. But the thing here is you cannot, just randomly do what you want. They usually have like uh, application start deadlines, end deadlines. They have eligibility requirements, and in most of the cases, you need letters of recommendations from professors. Um, when you cold email, usually they can or they can't. Like they might just ask for a professor's reference, and it might not be that formal. But over here, you actually need a formal letter of recommendation. Now this can be from, any professor whose class you attend. This he really needs to, write about not only your academic skills, but also, your skills outside your grades. Whether you have aptitude for research, if you're really passionate about something, if you, just do other activities rather than getting like a top grade. Um, they need to know you well enough to uh, for them to write a good LOR. So this is where building connections and like taking initiative really helps. Um, some professors write a really good LOR if you have done like good SOPs under them, and really good LORs help a lot. Trust me. Like I think LORs are more important than like your previous experience and like in most cases your GPA too. So yeah, these are some fellowships that I've included. These usually have programs every year. Some of them were suspended during COVID, but yeah, you can just Google any of these and search them up. Usually, how these work are like um they have a list of projects in like a lot of domains, like not only biology. Like even if you're interested in computer science or electronics, like most of these programs have those, uh, fields as well. So you just go onto their website and see when the application opens and stuff, and what you need. Usually they ask for all your grades in the relevant subjects, and they ask you to write an SOP. Basically, that this SOP is different. um they want you to either make a project of your own that's related to the project that you're applying for, or just write about your research, and just it could go either way. It differs application by application. So some of them are short, some of them are really long. Like the one I filled last year, JNCSR, that was one of the longest applications I filled. They've asked questions like, "Oh, what is science? What is this? What is that?" And some like don't ask anything. Um, so yeah, last year I applied to like four or five, and I did get rejected from all of them except for the one that I went to. So yeah, the honestly, a lot of times it's luck based, because like sometimes what you want to do doesn't match what your professor wants from someone, and that's okay. Like it's not your fault. Um, and that doesn't mean that, you won't succeed or like get anywhere in the future. Like it's just the way it is, and like just apply somewhere else. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so these are some foreign internships, and so over here, there's a difference between an internship and a scholarship. Now, some of them have in some of them you're responsible for finding like a host professor, like you have to connect with them before. So this is kind of like cold emailing. You need to approach them and be like, hey, I'm interested in this, and like I'm going to get funding from this specific scholarship, if you say yes. So over here you do need to start like you start in cold mailing, because they don't have like a certain database of projects for you to just choose from. So that's a scholarship where you're finding the internship separately, but these guys are paying you for it and giving you a stipend or whatever. Now the foreign internships that are mentioned above, over here, like there's an application and there are like a list of projects. You have to choose like a couple of them preference wise, and they allot you that. So these guys are responsible for giving you the project and paying you. So obviously the second, finding scholarships is can be a little harder, because here not only do you need the professor to say yes, you need to get the scholarship from the funding agency also. But these can be really awarding, and it's a very good thing to have on your CV. Suppose you got the Corona program, you can put that on your resume, and it's pretty impressive because these are more selective. They're not given out to as many people as the internships are. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, next slide. So coming to probably what is the most important part of this presentation, like, are these things important? So it's a yes or no for all of them, except for probably letters of recommendation. Those are always important. Let me start with CGPA. Now, a lot of people say that, oh, is it necessary to, have like a 9 plus or an 8.5 plus to, do research? So the hard truth is, when you're applying for a lot of these programs, they do consider your CGPA, and like these programs usually have a CGPA cutoff, and like let's say the cutoff is 8, but sometimes they just don't accept anyone who's below an 8.5. So that's like what happens with these programs, because they're highly competitive. But when you're cold emailing, there's like a high chance the professor doesn't really care that much. Like, as long as you have decent grades in like the subjects that you're interested in, and like decent grades, not like the best grades, and like you have like enough proof that you're interested in the thing, like you have an SOP or something, um, the professor would usually accept you. Like, CGPA doesn't really matter if you're cold emailing that much. Not like it doesn't matter at all. Of course, it matters. They want to know that you're academically sound, but it's not. You won't ever get rejected from cold emailing because you have like a low CGPA. So that's with that. Research experience. So yeah, the common cycle. Oh, I know I want a research internship, but I don't have previous experience, so how am I supposed to do that? That is there, but that's why you should start with doing SOPs, because as small as it is, it does count as a research experience, no matter, how much you do, even if you haven't, of course, you haven't done research in an outside lab, you've just done it under your professor. It does count. And it's everyone's first research experience, doing a project under a professor in your college itself. So start with that. And that is enough research experience for you to, apply somewhere else and say that you have research experience. And of course, you probably won't know anything. You probably would have just read papers and made a presentation in your SOP. That's fine. So even if you in truth don't know anything, it's completely fine, because like the professors and the programs that you're applying for, when you're young, when you're like in your second, third, fourth year, they don't really expect much from you. In fact, they expect nothing from you. Um, and most of the cases in all these programs, they just want to take you for training. They just want you to learn. So you don't need to like know, you don't need to have so much knowledge in the field or like in that particular research to, apply and get in most cases, like even when you're cold mailing professors, they're really happy to help you as long as they have like a free position in their lab. Like they don't want anything specifically for you. They don't think that you're going to contribute to their research very meaningfully and stuff like that. Like of course you'll do something, but like they have no expectations. They just want you to learn, which is why they're letting you in their lab. So don't worry about now not having research experience. Of course, when you apply to, these foreign internships, they do want you guys to, have at least like one solid research experience. So this, but it could also be like in your university itself, like you've done another project with the professor and like you've done significant work. They just need to know that like you're interested, you've done something to achieve that goal, and yeah, that's it. So like research experience as such, is not as intimidating as you think. Another thing, publications. Like a lot of people are like, oh, but like publications are so important. Once you have a publication, you're just set. Everyone's gonna take you. Now, while a publication is a really, really nice thing to have, it's not gonna guarantee anything. And like 90% of the people who are applying places don't have any publications. And like publications take so long to come out. Like it could be a year and a half before like a publication actually comes out. So even if you're working on it, you can't exactly say it unless it's out. So is probably the least important out of the four that I mentioned here. Like, yeah, it's a great thing to have, but like most people don't have it. And like when you're still in your second, third year, like it's a good thing to focus on as learning as much as you can, then focusing on getting a publication, because a publication is a very niche thing. You'll know a lot in just like the topic that you're doing, but like in the middle of all of that, like you're not going to be able to learn a lot because you're going to be so focused on the things that come with a publication, writing and making a million drafts. Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If you get an opportunity to do a publication, definitely go for it. But like that shouldn't be your goal, because like it takes a lot of time to happen. And in a lot of cases, it doesn't happen. Like a publication doesn't come from, oh, I want to get a publication out. It comes from doing research that, oh, you realize, okay, this hasn't been done before. This hasn't been published before. So you can't start a publication by saying you want to do a publication. You start a publication by doing research itself and then finding out something, cool or novel from it. So if in that case, that's great, then like you can go ahead. But like you should never, want to research something specifically just to get a publication, especially when you're in college itself. So yeah. And lastly, letters of recommendation. I said these are pretty important. Try to get the professor who knows you the best and who's going to write you a good LOR, because these really help. And a lot of the cases, like if you get into somewhere with an LOR, you can just ask them again next year. You can be like, oh, hey, your LOR really helped me last year. Would you mind writing me another one? And like, if you have such a rapport with them, if you're like close to them, they usually say yes. But then again, you can't, this is a very, you have to kind of make efforts for getting an LOR even before you know that you want one. You can't just, want to apply to somewhere and realize, oh, you want an LOR, and then, start like becoming all chummy buddy with them. So if you are interested in research, just like keep this in mind, that you do need to have like a good relationship with your professors, and you do need to stand out in your class. Yeah, next slide. So yeah, this is probably gonna clear a lot of doubts people have, if they have any. So there are pros and cons to both types of getting an internship. So cold emailing. The pros are you have freedom to choose any professor in the world that is offering a lab. You can choose what you want to work on. You can choose, like your date's duration. Like you just tell them that, hey, I want to do this time. And like if they don't have a problem with it, they'll be like, yeah, sure. And like I said before, CGPA is not that important. In this case, professors prioritize your interests and experience. even if you, and by experience, I meant like what I said before again. It could be SOP, it could be a project within your university. Even if you don't have any experience in this case, it's completely fine. Like, while programs might want you to have at least one or two research experiences, formal ones, in most of the cases when you're cold mailing a professor and you tell them, hey, I don't really have any research experience because I'm just in my second or third year, they don't really care about that. Because when you're approaching them, they can't expect anything from you. It's just you wanting to learn from them. So they don't really care if you have that much research experience. They just want you to be passionate and enthusiastic about what you're doing. Now, cons. Like I said before, it's usually difficult to get a response. You can email tens and twenties of professors and you probably might not get anything, or you might get a response, and that response may be that our lab's full. So that's one of the most difficult things about cold mailing. Another thing is there's a high chance you don't get paid for it, because like you can't ask them for an internship and like ask them to pay you, because then it'll be from their own grants that they have for their own, PhDs, postdocs, for their own projects. So there's a high chance they're not going to fund you being an intern. And if it's in a different country, you might not get help with, your visa or study permit, and you will be responsible for doing a lot of the things on your own. And another thing is like you need to start pretty early during the cycle. Like if you want an internship during the summer months, um, usually by January, February, like mid-March, their labs get full and they know who exactly is going to work there during the summer. So you kind of need to start early. You need to start researching kind of the previous year and, start emailing as soon as you can, because a lot of the cases what happens is like people start pretty late and like they get rejected not because of anything, just because like the labs are full. And that's a pretty sad thing, because like you really had a chance if you were just, a little earlier. And like another thing why you need to start early is because you have to follow up with them so many times. And if you just go too late, then like your follow-ups will become like very close together, and that's just gonna annoy a professor and he's not gonna respond to you at all. So yeah. Again, programs also have their pros and cons. So the pros are, it's certain whether you're getting one or whether you're not getting one. You're not in like a waiting limbo like you are with cold mailing. Like, oh, will they respond? Will they not respond? Has he seen my email? Stuff like that. It's a lot certain and it's a lot less stressful. It's an easier process, and in most of the cases, you're going to get paid some amount at least, and you have if it's in a foreign country, they usually provide you help with your visa, which is a really like important thing, because like getting a visa can be really hard, and like especially if you're studying for a long duration. Like if it's more than 2 or 3 months, which won't happen in the case of a summer internship. This is just an example. Um, it's pretty hard to get a visa in a lot of countries if you're staying there for like 6 months or so, which is not related to this, but help with visa it's a very good thing to have. So programs can give you that. And like in some cases, like if it doesn't work out, if your visa gets rejected last minute, they in most of the cases they have something for you. They'll like be sorry about it, and like they'll be like, okay, that's no problem. You can like start later, or like you can apply again next year, and like um they might just defer your thing by a year, uh without you having to apply also, if like something unfortunate like your visa gets rejected. The cons is that most of them have an eligibility criteria. Like, it's different for every application, but some might have like, oh, you need to have only 2 semesters left. You need to have done 5 semesters, something like that. It's different for every program. So this is not the case with cold mailing. Like you can be in your first year, you can be in your last year, you could do anything, and you can just email. But in programs, they have a specific thing. A lot of them want your second year to be over and they want you to be a pre-final year student, but they want you to have a year after the internship. It's a little strange, but you should check those out. And there's usually a CGPA cutoff, which is pretty annoying because I remember last year I wanted to apply for an internship whose cutoff was 8.5 and my CGPA was, I think, 8.46. And I emailed them saying, hey, could you just make an exception? My grading is pretty tough and stuff like that. They're like, no, apply again next year. So it can be pretty annoying and sad to have a CGPA cutoff. And it's not as flexible because if it's an internship, you're getting like, uh, of course you're choosing the project, but like that's your project. You can't really change a lot of things with that. And like some of them have fixed dates. Like in some of them you can choose like where you want to start and where you want to end. But in a lot of them, like they have like a specific date, like you start June 13th. And like sometimes we might have copies during that time. And in a lot of cases with that, they don't really make exceptions if you're not there for the first week. So you have to check that out as well. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so that's all I had to say basically. But yeah, to conclude, like there are a lot of myths about research. People say it doesn't pay well. And the hard truth is this, while this is true on some level, it's not like the final truth. If you're passionate about what you do, then like it's definitely worth it. It like I don't know. I've not regretted my choice till now because I know that like I enjoy what I am doing, so it doesn't really matter too much. And like, yeah, it doesn't pay well, but like you're not gonna end up broke. Like you're going to have a living. So that's what I wanted to say with respect to that. And yeah, the journey is not the easiest, especially like over here when you're not getting a lot of help in that direction. But like, um, to anyone who is, interested in research, the science community is extremely helpful. Like, all we want to do is have other people following the same footsteps as us and, just doing the same things that we do. And especially professors, like, they'll be really, really happy to know that you want to, go in their footsteps. So they'll help you a lot, when you're interested. And like that's a really nice thing because like professors' connections can help you so much. Sometimes when none of this works out, you can just ask them, hey, do you have, any one of your friends, anyone where you've previously worked? If anyone has like a free spot in their lab, can you please recommend me? And those recommendations go the longest way because like again, professors just who are accepting you just want someone in mind who's interested. And if their friend who is a professor is telling them that their student wants to, of course they're going to let them in. So yeah, so professors connections can be so important. And yeah, you just need to connect with as many people as you can, like friends who are interested in the same field, your seniors who have done work in the same things. You know, you can even reach out to people on LinkedIn who've worked at places that you want to, apply for. And, just ask them, hey, how's your journey? How'd you end up here? Could you help me out? I'm a bit confused. I don't really know how to continue. So, and like, they'll be really helpful. Anyone, seriously. And yeah, everyone's journey is different, so never feel like you're not doing something right. Like, oh, she like went here in her second year itself. Like, how am I supposed to, compete with that? Like, it doesn't matter, at the end of the day. It's just that if you're passionate and if you're doing enough to show that you are, you can reach anywhere you want to. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you. I hope you guys found this helpful. Yeah, if you want to contact me, you can email me. And if you want to contact me now, then like my number is the above one. But when I come back to India in 2 months, it'll be the second one.
Thanks, Sumiran. Does anyone have any questions? So our next speaker is Harini. She is a BE Computer Science Engineering student, and she is currently interning at Adobe.
Yeah, should I share my screen? Just a second. Okay, I think I cannot share my screen. Okay, when maybe I can just tell you when to move ahead. Okay, so I'm Harini and I am going to my fourth year and I've been majoring in CS. So basically, okay, so just to be clear, my whole perspective of research is only limited to the kind of research I do. I mean, I work in ML, so it'll be very skewed from that angle. I mean, I do have a general idea about other CS research topics, but like I won't be able to cover, science research basically. So that and okay, so basically, I am interested in the intersection of cognitive sciences and ML. I am currently interning at Adobe Media and Data Science Research, and I'll be doing my thesis soon at Stanford Autonomous Agents. Go to the next slide, please. I think there's an image slide in between. Can you refresh it? Yeah. So just to give you a flavor of what kind of research I do, this is something that I have worked on. So you see this poster, and you can ask your model to prompt, um, give you a poem looking at this poster, or give a title for the poster, or some other task looking at the poster. And by the way, this doesn't use ChatGPT or GPT-4 as such. This is done by scratch from in my team. So this is something that I work on, and this is more of applied research where you actually build something that people are going to use, um, rather than publishing. We do publish, but like this is some example of research that is applied to normal day-to-day tasks, especially since the AI hype. Everybody is keen on rolling out these kind of products. You can say. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, so I'll just give you a brief of how I started. I applied. I think I started with an SOP in 922. Under I think Swati ma'am, and then I had SOPs since then. So that is how I got into like research properly, and I also got inducted into SAIL in my late first year, early second year. So that is how I got introduced to research. Till then, I was kind of learning some things offhand, and courses, books, GitHub, random things. So I think if anybody who's interested in research should definitely do study-oriented projects, because it's a great way to learn and see how other people research, especially professors. BITS professors, they don't do a lot of research, but I think if you apply to the good ones, like the ones who actually don't repeat the same project every semester, you'll have a good time and learn a lot from them. And yeah, obviously, and they are very good to provide contacts. They normally know other professors from other universities, and especially like AppCare has collaboration with University of New South Wales, and University of Macquarie and two other universities. So they do joint projects, which um, will look good in your CV, and you might get an LOR from a foreign professor. So that is a plus. Next, so I think ML research is a small part of CS research, but like research in general should be decided by which stream you want to go. Like, don't just follow the hype and feel like, okay, everyone's doing ML research. I'm also going to do ML research. Yeah, do explore, but like, find your niche, find your call. If you maybe people do theory research, people do algorithm research. There are a lot of other research fields in computer science itself. Um, yeah, I mean, right now, after Coursera and everything, the easiest way to get hands-on is doing courses and attempting assignments, making small projects, etc. And obviously SOPs. And so, in ML at least, one of the most important things is to publish papers, even though it seems very unintuitive that like how Sumiran said that publications are kind of hard, or it's difficult to get papers when you're early into your research. But in ML especially, it's so competitive that normally people do need publications to um, for most of the things. Like if you want to apply for some programs, if you want to apply for masters and PhD, it's almost impossible to get into, especially in ML, without any publication. And other than that, if you're not very keen on the academic research side, where you publish papers and you go for masters and you do further research, there are industry-based research like Adobe does industry research, where you can work on products that use research. So that is one way of being in research and still being working in companies. And by the way, they pay really well. If I don't know, there is this misconception that research doesn't pay, but like industrial research in ML at least pays very well. Yeah, go ahead. So normally, once you get into research, you do people do three kind of things. Either they go for master's, PhD, they go for research jobs, or they go for pre-docs. Pre-docs are like programs that prepare you for your doctorate, basically where you explore what research you want to do. That is something you do in your pre-doc. And for master's, PhD, obviously ML research, it's very competitive. So people normally take a gap of 2 years and get their profile stronger to apply for master's or PhD. Next slide. The previous one. Oh, okay. I skipped a slide, I think. Just a second. Yeah, so basically, um, what you choose is determined by factors like your GPA or what you want to do, or your profile. If you have a stronger profile, you probably take up master's or PhD. But if you think you don't, or you want to find out your calling and research, you probably wait for 2 years and then go ahead. Yeah, so that is from my side.
Does anyone have any doubts? I don't think so. Thank you so much, Harinidhi. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Now let's just wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Bye.